Welcome to Kent Hance, the best storyteller in Texas. By the way, if you are a every Monday listener, make sure that you check back during the week too, because Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we share a short clip from a past podcast, and on Friday, we re-release a past episode that was one of your favorites. So make sure you check back every single week, every single day, and get a little dose of Chancellor Hands, and then on Friday, a replay from something that we've done in the past. But also encourage you to go to our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube and just type in Kent Hance, the best storyteller in Texas. You'll see videos there, short videos that are posted every single day, and something you may have missed in the past. Plus, it's just kind of more fun to see it on video as well. So do all those things, and we appreciate you here. Share us on social media as well. Chancellor Hance, you got a saying of the day for us?
Saying of the day is an old military saying, always honor the fallen. And today's Memorial Day. It's the time to honor the fallen. And Memorial Day started out as Decoration Day originally. And the first people to have a, quote, Decoration Day were some freed slaves in Charleston, South Carolina. And the South didn't have infrastructure of a country because they hadn't been a country. And they had a prison in Charleston that was really a racetrack, and they put wires around it, and it was, terrible conditions as prisons were all over the country. And they had about 250 people died, and they buried them in a mass grave. And after the war was over, the freed slaves dug them up and built one. He got their dog tags so they could know who it was, and built them one grave at a time, and put a cross with a name on it. And at the first celebration, they had a children's choir, and they sang "America the Beautiful." And that's just amazing that they'd been enslaved and everything, and now they're free, and they sing "America the Beautiful." They had a positive attitude under deplorable conditions. And Congress enacted moving it from May the 30th. There's always May the 30th. 1971, they moved it to the last Monday in May. And another thing about Memorial Day, it's kind of, you honor the fallen, but also it's a kickoff of the summer. And they have have a lot of cookouts and barbecue with family. And one thing I looked up is the ingredients. Some of them were up or about the same, but hamburger meat was up the most at 15%. And that if your hamburger and hot dogs is about $30 for 8, and that's pretty cheap. You take 8 people out to eat, and what are you going to, I don't care where you go, it's going to be a heck of a lot more than $30. And so if you're cooking your own and you're just having hot dogs and hamburgers, you're probably going to be okay.
I read this week that grocery prices were at an all-time high. An all-time high for groceries. It's expensive. You go and spend $100 at the grocery store, and you get home, you feel like you didn't get anything.
Yeah, well, you don't have to have, you don't have to say, come help me to your spouse. Come help me put these groceries up. You put them up by yourself real fast. And there's a deal came out this week. They asked people, do you think people pretend to enjoy something they really don't? And the number one, answer, some of them said, were other people's children. That's sure a cute little kid and everything. Your kid's beating on your shoes or something. And high heels. And I think that's right, because I had, when I'd go to graduation, shake hands, there would all be some girl would come by, get her diploma, and she'd be barefooted, carrying her high heels, said that it hurt her feet too much, and she wasn't moving forward with it. And the other answer on things that people pretend to enjoy was family Christmas and Thanksgivings, and running, jogging, and small talk. They pretend to enjoy that.
Oh, small talk.
Small talk. I've told this before, but when I'd get into a situation at a dinner party or something in Washington, if I ran out of, where'd you grow up, where'd you go to college and all that and everything, I'd always say, what kind of tires you got on your car? And, it kind of, the conversation, they kind of look at you and they go, Goodyear, or I don't know what, I need to look. I figured somebody someday would say, why do you want to know? And, I'm just curious. I'd run out of everything else to touch on. And so let me know what kind of tires you got on your car.
Gotta be careful. Someone will say, Goodyears, I just got some new ones. Come on, I want to show you.
I want to show you too. Well, I'd at least allow you to get up and go outside.
Yeah.
Be a step in the right direction. Another airline, there's always somebody starting an airline. Somebody started one this last week, Bark Air, and they say they're getting requests. But most people, what they do, they act like they've got to have a service dog.
Yeah.
And I think that I went to a hearing at the Capitol the other day, and I got in there, it's just packed, and there was one seat on the second row, and I thought, wonder how that, and I went over and sat down, and the lady next to me had a bulldog or a pit bull in her lap.
In the Capitol.
Yeah, and that dog was like half a foot away, and I kind of smiled at it, hoped it didn't sense my fear. And then she put it down on the floor, and it sniffed around of my slacks and, looked at me. And I was seated with the dog there for about 2.5 hours. Never did bark. She took him out once. And but it's just unusual to go into a, state Senate hearing and to be a dog sitting there on the second row. And I don't know what he learned from it.
Did it have on the vest? I
had on the vest and had what do they put on there?
Service dog.
Service dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that people just took too far. I remember reading a story. Some guy had a service turkey or alligator or something, snake.
There was one in California that had a peacock.
That's right. Yeah.
There's a peacock.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit next to a peacock. Put them on Bark Air. Let them. They can fly with the dog. I like dogs, but flying my dog somewhere in the United States for $8,000. I believe I'll pass them. Look, Fido, you're going to the vets. You're going to have a little vacation at the vets.
They'll take good care of you.
They will, and most of the people now that have dog services in a rooming farm is that they give you a email or a website, and then you can look at the dog at any time.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to look. I mean, that's kind of carried away. But I've got friends that have dogs that I've told them, if I die and come back as a dog, I won't be your dog. They treat them like royalty.
Didn't you have a moment when you were young and you were going to a relative's house and you couldn't believe she had a dog in the house?
Oh yeah, that was we got back in the car after the Christmas party at Aunt Marie's, and everybody's like, Aunt Marie has a dog that lives in the house. Can you believe that? My dad said they'll all get fleas, and my mom said, rabies were that's going to be the. And we had never heard. That was probably about 1950. We had never heard of anyone that had a dog that lived in the house.
That's crazy.
We had a dog and he lived under the house. It was a little warmer, a little cooler, and we never bought dog food. He got the scraps and chase a rabbit. And he was a happy dog.
I was going to say he's probably happier than a house dog.
We were happy with him.
Yeah.
Tippy.
Tippy was the dog's name?
Tippy was the dog's name. Yeah, he got in a tie with a Chevrolet pickup one day and did not survive it. And I was crying. My Uncle Clarence told me, don't cry over something, can't cry over you. So okay. He's the one that had the saying of that, if you sell him the car, give him the keys. He sold a car one time, this couple, and he kept telling them, saying it's got electric windows. And the mother said, oh, no, one of the kids will roll the other one's neck up and kill him. We can't do that. And they didn't buy a car from him. They moved on. So he said, if they say, yeah, I'll take it, then write up the papers.
Stop selling.
Don't sell anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Give him the keys to the car.
Uncle Clarence sounded like an interesting guy.
He was. He was. He didn't talk a whole lot, but he always had some good wisdom when he did.
I think I'd have liked him.
Yeah, you would have. Bob Barker. Bob Barker had The Price is Right. And somebody went back and looked. The first gift, big gift that they had on the program, the very first program, was a fur coat. And he ran ads in his later years against fur coats. And I mean, he was totally against fur coats. And he was, that was his first prize. But he never did bring it up after that or talk.
He used to wrap up every show reminding people to get their dogs and cats spayed and neutered.
Right.
He was a big spokesman for somebody, and the SPCA, I believe.
Macomb, Illinois. That's where Western Illinois, the Leathernecks are, and they Macomb came up with this. And it's pretty. I liked it. They've built a monopoly board around the courthouse, around the square. And you play, and you can go from one business to another, and you can get on Park Avenue, and you can do all it's the world's largest monopoly board.
That's fun.
And, it's a pretty interesting town. I'd never heard of it. Looked it up. They've had 5 presidents visit there. None in the last century, but, originally. And it was a big town. It's halfway between Chicago and St. Louis. And it's about 300 miles from Des Moines, Iowa. And they did that, and I was impressed. It was a way to get a little publicity, and I'm sure they'd like businesses to relocate there. And any business in any town that's going to come up with an idea like that, they're worth looking at. But I'll give a shout out to Macomb, Illinois. I thought it was really clever on their part. Their Chamber of Commerce and some of the people they're trying to turn the populations down a little, and but they've still got 16,000 people, and it was very clever. You got the largest monopoly. If I ever driving up that way, I'm going to stop and get my picture made
in jail.
Playing Monopoly. Yeah. No, I'm not going to get in jail. And where the jail is, that's where the original jail was.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's funny.
So they put some thought into it.
Yeah. I wonder how big the dice are.
I don't know. I don't know. They if they're comparable to jail, they might be pretty big dice.
People are pretty clever, aren't they?
They are. And if they have a chance and they're trying to think of something to help the community, you'll get a lot of ideas. Some of them won't be good.
Right.
And you got to be careful on those. But some of them will be very good. And this was clever. And I put a salute out to Macombs, Illinois.
They probably started out with, whoever came up with that idea probably started out with, look, this might be a dumb idea, but here it is.
Yeah, here
and
it
it
is.
Worked.
In Macomb, they said, well, let's try that.
Yeah.
And so they got some free publicity in Macomb, Illinois. Daycare. I read a deal where some people in daycare put 2-pound ankle weights on a 2-year-old.
I saw that.
And the parents got mad about it and threatened to sue him and everything. And they just wanted to slow him down a little. That'll build up his muscles. But I can imagine, some 2-year-old and they strapping those weights on him as soon as his parents leave. They're trying to slow him down a little. And I bet you he was a ringtail tutor. Also, last week there was somebody got a box. Is it like a gift or something? And they opened it, and they sent it. This lady was riding in the car with this guy, and it was to him, and he gave it to her. And open it and see what it is. And he's driving along. She screamed out, "It's a snake!"
Oh,
and they stopped, and he got the snake out, and they found a stick, and they opened it up, and it was a rattlesnake, about 2-foot long rattlesnake, western rattlesnake.
oh,
And it was not an area. It was in Southern California, and the western rattlesnakes are in Northern California, and so that they need to look for a suspect in Northern California. But if somebody if they'd gotten bitten and died or something, that'd be a murder charge against somebody thinking they were clever. But don't put snakes in boxes and send it to people. Shouldn't have to tell people that, but sometimes you do. I rented a car in Amarillo one time, and my wife and I got in, and there was a warning. Do not, it was the day before pheasant season started, do not clean birds in car. You know, and as she said, that means somebody has cleaned birds in the car.
Yeah.
And wasn't a good situation.
The things you have to tell people not to do is always amazing. Always amazing.
There was a lady that took her children out on the beach in California, and they collected clams, they thought, and they were protected clams, and they had the fine was $88,000.
Oh. And
she went in front of them and pled that she didn't know it. And of course, they had signs all over the place said, "Don't do this." And but the judge felt sorry for her and reduced it to $500. But $500, is a lot of money to take your kids out for a little entertainment. Yeah, kids, pick up some of these clams. They thought they were just shells.
Yeah.
They thought they were in good shape.
Well, that judge was kind.
Oh, he's very kind to him. The Grand Ole Opry. I couldn't believe this. There are certain people that are not members of the Grand Ole Opry, and the number one, it was just shocking to me, was George Strait.
Really?
And that he is not a member, and the reason, he made it so big so fast. At the Grand Ole Opry, they expect you to play there a few times a year. And he had his own places he was going and playing and drawing crowds of anywhere from, 10 to 50,000 people. And so he didn't join. But also Faith Hill and Tim McGraw are not members. And Hank Williams Jr. Hank Williams Jr. said he grew up listening to R&B. Yeah. So, there's no need to go to the Grand Ole Opry for him. So he didn't go.
That's quite a badge of honor for country music stars.
Yeah, they're a member of the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah.
But when I read the first one, the top one, George Strait, makes you go, wow, that's amazing. How did that happen?
And he's got a brand new song that just came out. He's still making music. He's got a lot of them. Yeah, he's real good.
Great entertainer.
One of your friends wrote Amarillo by Morning, didn't he?
Yeah, and a guy from Amarillo, he wrote it. He had he wrote a couple of songs. One by the Righteous Brothers, "Suspicion," and he died a few years ago. But it was a deal that he recorded Amarillo by Morning, and nobody bought it. And about 8 or 9 years later, George Strait was looking through music and decided he'd try it. He tried it, and it went to number one. And it's one of the 10 greatest Western songs ever recorded. There was a list. They made the top 10 Western songs ever recorded, and Amarillo by Morning was one of them. Last thing, a lady got filed on for assault with the cinnamon roll, and all the facts are not in on this story, and they got. She threw it at a guy and hit him in the neck, and they filed assault charges on him. And, a district attorney's got to choose and enforce the law and everything, but that's wouldn't be high on my priority list. Somebody get filed on for assault with a cinnamon roll. The saying of the day, remember the fallen. And this is a day to honor them. There's a lot of people didn't make it, went off to war. And they're the reason we're free today.